I'm Katie Mikulka. I'm an American Studies major and archives concentrator, but I like to pretend that I am also a dance major. So for my work in the play project, I've been considering the relationship between play and dance through a couple different locations. As Michael said, I've been looking a lot at the work of Merce Cunningham and his use of chance operations in the process of making dance, as well as contact improvisation as a play-filled form, and the Judson Dance Theater as a physical location of play. I have a whole list of research questions that have kind of been informing how I've been approaching these questions. When I first went into the con, I knew I wanted to do something about dance, and that could mean a lot of different things. I thought about thinking about social dance, and thought about how social dance relates to gender roles and play, like playing a part. But this is where I've ended up, is thinking about how play occurs in a space set apart and how we can consider dance itself as a space set apart where play can take place. And the relationship between process and product, we think about play as being something that unfolds without necessarily having a purpose or an end goal. And again, the notions of risk-taking and flow and feelings of safety in play that Lucy alluded to in her presentation. Okay, so like Michael said, when I gave this presentation for my group, we ended up dancing. I haven't planned to do that today, but we are going to watch some dance, because I often feel like talking about dance without watching it is kind of unfair to you, because I've seen all this really wonderful stuff and I just want to share it with people. So Merce Cunningham and chance procedures. One of the things we've kind of been grappling with in the con is the difference between gameplay and play as a separate entity. And one of the things that sets Cunningham apart from other choreographers is the use of chance in his choreographic processes. So one of the pieces we're going to look at is this work, Split Sides. Cunningham's career spanned a long time, the bulk of the 20th century, and he made work up through the end of his life. I think he was in his early 90s when he passed away. But this is a piece called Split Sides that was made in 2003, and I have a little quote from a review of the piece, which reads, "For his golden anniversary creation, Cunningham piled on more layers. When he found himself with two bands, he seems to have thought, what the heck, and calling the piece Split Sides, he made two separate dance selections and ordered up two lighting designs, two backdrops, and two sets of costumes. Nor was any element paired with each other. Everything would be sorted by chance before each performance. Mathematically speaking, there were 32 possible combinations." So before we watch this, another thing that I've been thinking about in terms of the relationship between play and dance is what looks like play when we watch dancing. And I would like you to keep that in mind while we watch this clip. This is actually, through the magic of things being put on the internet, this is two different performances with two different combinations of all the elements that I just described, but we're not going to watch all of it. So I'll show a little bit of one combination and then a little bit of the other combination. Skip ahead so you can see the other combination of features. I could watch this all day, and I'll just sit here and mesmerized by it. So. So I think that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of what Cunningham's work looks like, and to me this isn't something that necessarily looks super playful, which is, again, something to think about with regards to the relationship between process and product as I've been looking at play in relation to dance. So to skip ahead to the next topic that I've been considering, I've tried to cram a lot into this presentation and give a little bit of insight into these different locations that I've been considering within my project. But contact improvisation is a form that kind of blurs the distinctions between social dance and concert dance, or dance that you would see on the stage. It was actually founded by a dancer named Steve Paxton who danced in Cunningham's company. And contact draws from a lot of different places. It's been compared to meditation, it's been compared to martial arts, and I'll read a little bit of a passage describing what contact is from a dance critic named Sally Baines. There are lifts and falls involving organically out of the continuous process of finding and losing balance. There is a give and take of weight, but also of social roles, passivity and activeness, demand and response. So one of the things that we've been talking about with relation to play is a sense of safety, that there needs to be a sense of safety in order to play. And I think that contact improvisation is a great location to consider feelings of safety and then also of discovering one's bounds and kind of pushing the limits of what one can do. So we'll watch a little bit. This is a documentary that was made in 1987, and there is narration over top of the movement, but I'll just show a little bit of this so you can see what contact improvisation looks like.
When an apple fell on his head, Isaac Newton was inspired to describe his three laws of motion. These became the foundation of our ideas about physics. Being essentially objective, Newton ignored what it feels like to be the apple. When we get our mass in motion, we rise above the constant call of gravity toward the swinging, circling invitation of centrifugal force. Dancers ride and play these forces. Beyond Newton's third law, we discover that for every action, several equal and opposite reactions are possible. Therein lies an opportunity for improvisation.
Again, I could keep watching that, and this is a wonderful documentary if anyone is interested in learning more about contact as a form. But one of the things I hadn't mentioned before that I've really been thinking about in this relationship between dance and play is the way dance relates to time, in the sense that when making a dance, you're creating a creative product, but once it happens, it's happened. There isn't a tangible record to be accessed later on. And I've been thinking a lot about how this sort of ephemerality relates to play, and that play is something that happens and then it's over. And that play is something you can access and then come out of it, and how that relates to acts of dance making and performance. So the last topic that I want to cover is the Judson Dance Theater. And with Cunningham's work and with contact improvisation, I've been thinking a lot about dance, the dance itself as a space, but Judson Dance Theater is a physical location in which there are many different artists coming together across disciplines. It was actually originally organized by a music composition teacher who taught at Cunningham's studio, and contact improvisation as a form came out of Judson. So this is not necessarily, the way that I've presented these three things isn't necessarily linear because they're all deeply interrelated in ways that aren't super linear. But I have a passage that also by the dance critic Sally Baines that kind of sheds light into what Judson was. And she says that the Judson aesthetic was never a monolithic one, and rather the Judson situation was deliberately undefined and restricted. Styles of choreography grew out of the groundwork carried out at Judson, but the wealth of dances created by the Judson Theater Show, above all, a remarkable diversity. So this idea of there being a physical space where artists across disciplines can come together and play and bring different elements together and kind of see what happens and put them together. One of the other notable things about Judson is not only were the performances open to the public, but so were rehearsals. So again, this disruption of ideas about product and process. And I just lost my train of thought of the next thing I wanted to say. But yes, that thinking again about this space that's set apart, and that it's set apart from reality or set apart from everyday lived experiences, is one of the most exciting things about play, is that it's something that's not part of your everyday life, and that art, and be it visual arts or performing arts, or function in a similar way as a space apart. And those are some of the questions I've been grappling with this semester. So thank you.